Good evening and welcome to Perspective. Khwaja Asif leads talks with General Malik today in Doha. We'll be talking about what the future of these talks will likely be. We'll be talking about what we can expect from these talks, considering, of course, our history with Afghanistan, with the Afghan Taliban also, and what can be the likely outcome. Of course, according to reports, these talks are going well, but what are our expectations from these talks? All of that today. On Perspective, I have with me a very special guest today, Dr. Musadik Malik, who is a Federal Minister for Energy with the PMLN. Thank you for being with us today.
Now climate change.
And Musadik sir, as far as these talks are concerned, first of all, what are the government's expectations from the Doha talks at this time?
I think our expectations are peace.
Okay.
I think our relationship with Afghanistan has been that of peace and brotherhood. Okay. They're our neighbors. Whenever they've been in trouble, we've always stood by their side, and we expect exactly the same. I think over the past couple of years, ever since TTP has found its hideouts in Afghanistan, there's been a little bit of turbulence in our relationship. We're trying to sort it out. We wish Afghanistan people, Afghanistan's people, everyone, we wish them well. We'd always be by their side, and for their peace, for their sovereignty, we committed to both of them, but we expect reciprocity in return. So if our security is threatened by certain agents who are residing in Afghanistan, then our expectation is that this would stop.
Like you mentioned, of course, civilians, our brothers in Afghanistan and the people of Afghanistan have always remained of concern to us. And for that, Pakistan has made a lot of concessions. Do you think those concessions, though, have led us to where we are now in terms of course, a very fragile ceasefire, in terms of, a Taliban who have somehow developed a nexus with India?
As I said, our commitment is to our region, our commitment is to our neighbors, our commitment is to all of the Muslim countries, and most of all, our commitment is to the people of Afghanistan, and that commitment stays. I think even in the way of concessions, we've extended facilities and latitude that a brother would extend to another brother, and I think that would continue. However, at this juncture, because Pakistani people are losing their lives and Pakistani property is getting destroyed, and for all practical purposes, there was an armed attack on Pakistan. Pakistan then has to retaliate, as Pakistan has. And the message is very clear. First of all, it's a message of brotherhood and affection. It's also a message of we have been by your side and we'd always be by your side. But the second message is equally straightforward, that if any, not just Afghanistan, but any neighboring country attacks Pakistan or harbors terrorism against Pakistani people, then Pakistan would retaliate in equal proportions +1. And that's exactly what you're seeing right now. We are going after targets which are attacking Pakistan. We are not against Afghanistan. We've had many rounds of conversations with the Afghanistan's leadership, requesting them to not give protection to the people who are attacking Pakistan. And once Pakistan was formally attacked, I mean, I don't know what the word for attack is, formal attack, I don't know what the formal attack is, but Pakistan has been attacked for past several years by TTP and other agents which have deep-rooted relationships with India. And if they are going to work on behest of India and attack Pakistan, then their destiny is going to be no different than the destiny that India has faced over the past couple of years, every time it has tried to ingress in Pakistan.
You mentioned the talks that we've had in the past. And of course, these talks, how are they going to be different in your opinion? And, and how is their outcome going to be different from what those talks, and the guarantors, are they going to be able to factor the Taliban in and the outcomes that we've seen in the past?
I'm not sure we need in our bilateral relationships guarantors. There's always a neutral ground where we go and we negotiate. And if there are any guarantors, that's fine too. But I think in terms of our relationship with Afghanistan, we don't need any guarantors.
Like
I think we just need to have a fair conversation. And I think the only thing that is different in this round is that they have not paid any heed to Pakistani requests. And the agencies and the agents that were attacking Pakistan, they found their safe haven in Afghanistan. And Pakistan has retaliated now. So our message is very clear, and that's what is different. That look, there's a certain limit and latitude that Pakistan would offer to our neighboring countries, and particularly to Afghanistan, because of very deep-rooted relationships and the history that we've had since the USSR invasion and so on and so forth, and all of our brothers and sisters who've been in Pakistan, who were welcomed, are welcomed. But if basically all of this extension of grace and brotherly gestures ends up with Pakistani children getting burnt alive, or Pakistani schools getting attacked, as in Army Public School event, and all of those people who are involved in acts of terror, they continue to stay in Afghanistan, then I think Pakistan has made it very clear that if that continues to happen, then Pakistan will take out those organizations as well as people.
From what you say, I mean, it seems that there are two parallel policies that Pakistan is going to be taking. One, of course, like you said, of talks, of mediation by Qatar, or the way that we are looking at in talks, and the other, of course, a more aggressive one, and of retaliation. Are there going to be two together in parallel in terms of our retaliatory approach, more aggressive one, along with having these talks and trying to get the Taliban to understand where we're coming from, like you said?
I would not call it aggressive, I would call it firm. Pakistan, I think Pakistan has taken a very firm position, and Pakistan has only taken a firm position on its own sovereignty. And also on the safety of its own children and of its own kind of people, particularly the most vulnerable and the poor. And if you look at the borders, you will find out that most of the people who live out there have already faced a lot of devastation. People in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, some areas of Balochistan, and they're getting attacked. So poor and the most vulnerable people are getting attacked. Also, our security forces, our military forces, we are having a young man martyred nearly every day, and I think that is unacceptable. Obviously, every martyr that falls, takes out 20 terrorists. But having said that, we still believe, very firmly believe, that we're not going to have our own children die or put them in the harm's way for nothing. So if there are organizations that we've identified, if there are hideouts that are out there, and if those organizations and the people in those organizations and those hideouts in an organized manner either carry out acts of terror or in this round practically attack Pakistan, then Pakistan has just taken a very firm position, as any country would take.
Any country would on its sovereignty, like you said. But there is, and to some extent, of course, there is clarity in this approach. But at the same time, when we look at Pakistan together, when we look at the provinces, do you see that kind of harmony? Because clearly there is one province that borders with Afghanistan, and of course, from a political party, there are a lot of mixed signals coming from there. Do you think we will be able to achieve that kind of cohesion? We'll be able to achieve that kind of harmony, that kind of one narrative voice that we need, like you said, the firmness with terrorists that come from anywhere?
I think this question of yours is a very interesting one and a very nuanced one, and it needs to be broken in two parts. Okay. One relates to democracy. So democracy is a very noisy process. So democracy is not a command and control system where one person or a handful of people get into a room and they decide something and everyone lines up. It is not a large corporation. So democracy, by definition, if you look at the root word, the Latin root word for democracy, it's the equivalent of, not exactly, but the law of the mobs, as opposed to the law of the elites. So therefore, by its own nature, it's going to be a noisy process. People are going to elect their own governments in their own districts, in their own provinces. And most of the times they all come together, but a lot of times they don't come together. And when they don't come together, they raise noises. And the idea of a house, you know, so to say, an elected house, is to bring the voices of people, the voices of mob, in a place where legislation and policies are made.
But this house now is at the brink of war.
Well, what exactly do you mean by that? Sorry.
I mean, you know, of course, when there are such huge concerns, when, like you said, sovereignty is a concern, then we need voices that rally
that's where,
together.
that was the second part that I was coming to. So this is the first part, that we are not deeply concerned about the normal course of democracy or the noises or opposition or differences of opinion. That's perfectly fine. But I think the issue or the challenge is emanating from a particular political party, which has a particular view.
Right.
Obviously, you are talking about Khyber Pakhtunkhwa.
Yes.
And in that, therefore, you're talking about PTI. And PTI pretty much, other than the fragments which are all over the place, and none of those fragments give you any coherent picture, is driven by one man, Imran Khan. So if you look at his kind of position, starting from the 1990s, when he started to write these glorifying articles about the Taliban and their way, you see that he's continuously been on the other side. And that is a problem. Because what the Taliban, the TTT people, what they're bringing to Pakistan is not just an act of terror. And they're also not just bringing to Pakistan a war. They're also bringing to Pakistan a very regressive ideology. An ideology in which you will not be able to sit here on television and talk freely. An ideology in which young girls would not be able to go to school. An ideology in which on these billboards you would see patches of ink on the faces of women. And I'm not talking about hypothetical situation. This has previously happened. Every single time we try to negotiate with these radical people, they bring to the fore, first in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, slowly, first in the previously tribal areas, then in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, then in the bordering regions, then in Punjab, Sindh, Balochistan and everywhere. They bring this very regressive idiom and a very regressive ideology
but why
with them.
does it find a voice in KP, and why has there has been this inability by other political parties to erode that voice?
No, I think it's one man. And I think right now he's playing with fire. Our view is different, and that's where I think there is a little bit of disconnect. Our view is that all of these differences of opinions are fine, but when our children start to fall one at a time, and we ask them that we want to launch an operation, and they say, no, we are not going to, basically one man, and who's a puppeteer, he says no, because he is serving self-interest. He only wants to get out and he wants to get to the power. That's it. That's the only objective. So for that objective, if the entire country burns in fire, he's just fine.
But there was a cabinet meeting yesterday, and the CM was not there. He sent an unelected, a high-level meeting that happened yesterday, and all the other CMs were there, and he sent an unelected representative. So the nature, the extent of this now, how is the federal government going to put up with this and not curtail it or erode this narrative that is very dangerous, like you said? even, even in any province, and the way that it continues to be there without other political parties being able to erode it sufficiently?
No, I haven't met a Pakistani, and I haven't met basically any political party that says let the Taliban come in and establish their writ. Have you? I haven't. I have not met anyone. I mean, there are lots of political parties in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa.
What about the good Taliban, bad Taliban debate?
That idiom is long done. I mean, when was the last time you heard about the good Taliban? There's no good Taliban. I mean, they are attacking Pakistan.
Yeah.
That idiom is long gone. That initial thinking, people who were supporting the movements against the USSR invasion and so on and so forth, those and the aftermath of some of those things were the good and the bad Taliban. Right now, Afghanistan has its own kind of, the USSR is long gone, the Americans have also left. So what is a good or a bad Taliban about? For us, what is important is a Taliban or Talib who's attacking Pakistan versus a person or an Afghan citizen who wants to live peacefully in his own country and wants to work for the prosperity of their own families and their own children. And we're perfectly fine. In fact, we'd like to support that. But if someone attacks us, whether it's basically a group of Talibans or some other faction, whether it's TTP or some other group, whether it's supported by India or some other external force, if that happens, then we'll take a very firm stance. It's as simple as that. And within Pakistan, people who as I say that PTI or Imran Khan is playing with fire, he's not just playing with fire in the way of war or in the way of safety and security of people, he's also playing with fire in the way of his own political career. I mean, do you think that if you continue to say that let Pakistani children be attacked? I mean, I'm assuming you have children, I have children. We saw what happened at the Army Public School, and that's not like that's one big event, so I'm referring to it, where hundreds of children were killed in cold blood, and their teacher was actually burnt alive with phosphorus. And if basically someone releases the perpetrators of those kinds of events.
But my question is that we need a long-term policy, and that we have not had, unfortunately.
Tell me what you mean by that.
Is this going to be a long-term policy?
This is our long-term policy. Anyone who attacks Pakistan, any agent from within or outside who attacks Pakistan, who works against the sovereignty of Pakistan, or who takes away the rights of livelihoods or right of life, or basic freedoms from the people of Pakistan, we will not tolerate that. You've just seen it with another extremist group within Pakistan.
Because 2 years ago, the political parties wanted to have them in the mainstream, or have as far as provinces go. And now the policy with regard to...
I mean, it's only the policy of one party. This mainstreaming idiom, this resettlement of those terrorists who blew away our children. This was not the policy, this is not a Pakistani policy. This was the policy of one political party. And as I said, if you look at historically, you show me historically starting from the 1990s, when was the point of view, when was that time when Imran Khan said, no, I'm going to stand against this regression. I want to see a modern Pakistan. I want to see a Pakistan where every girl has the same rights as every boy, where every man has the same rights as every woman. If you remember, there was this case, a rape case, where in one of the interviews where he ended up saying that if women dress up like this, are men robots? How do you think they would react? What kind of idiom is that? So all of these things, when you weave them together, when you look at those articles to this final kind of conversation with a foreign journalist, you begin to see a pattern, and that pattern is that of regression. Now, if regression is only limited to one's own self, that is perfectly fine.
But when a political party, I'm going to just leave it at that, but when a political party sort of regresses so much, and that your country, your women are, your children are at the danger of that regression, doesn't a more profound action need to be taken?
What is
Can
that?
we just dismiss it and say that, oh, it is just, democracy?
Explain profound action.
Well, I think, some action that does away with this, like an all parties conference, creating a consensus against this political party or against this thought process that is fueling this aggression, like you said.
Oh, I personally think that, first of all, the biggest protection against any group of people trying to dominate the lives or trying to intervene in the lives of other people is the Constitution. And Constitution has provided protection against this kind of hegemony of one political party, either through force or even in numbers. The Constitution protects you against the tyranny of majority. The Constitution also protects you against forcefully trying to coerce people into a certain way of life. So I think so long as we stand by the Constitution and we continue with the process, some of the people who are going to, which family, think about it from the basic family structure point of view. If you're saying, is the government going to not start a campaign, whether it be communications? I think the government is and the government will. That's why I'm at your program. If you're asking, will the government not involve other political parties? The government has and the government is and the government will. Absolutely. Would the government, if you're asking, would the government not have debates about this issue within the parliament? Those debates are ongoing about the Taliban, about their attacks, and sometimes even making references to agents who are supporting them. So the government will continue to do what the government needs to do. Do we need to do more? Most certainly. If you have any suggestions which are going to be more effective, we'd be very open to it.
There are speculations in Indian media that our actions are aimed at a regime change within Afghanistan.
Oh, I don't think so. What have we got to do with what people want to do within Afghanistan? So I don't think right now, I haven't heard that there is any attempt at regime change from the Pakistani side. It's up to the people of Afghanistan, who they elect, who they bring to power, how they want to run the affairs of their state. And as I said earlier, we do not necessarily always agree with them, but we've always been by their side and we plan to continue to support them. But if that becomes a playground for attacking Pakistan in any way, then we'll take a firm stance.
In terms of what's happening between India and Taliban, we know what the relationship was in the past also. And now this new nexus that, of course, and we've been telling the world for a long time, with dossiers, with a lot of evidence backed by, concrete data that yes, this has been happening, it's been coming through India, the perpetration of terrorism. Now this nexus, the way that, the way that it's developed, the press conference that happened, how do you look at this development? The concerns, how do we counter this particular kind of defiance that's come out like this, the way that they've come out?
Firmly. How else? We've previously, India over the past couple of years has tried twice to violate the international borders of Pakistan, and you've seen what happened. You heard from India all of these ideas from the Indian Prime Minister as well about, Rafales and S-300s. I'm not a military expert, but this Iron Shield and these great planes, and then you see what happened to them. They were falling from the skies like little birds. So we've not shown once, we've shown them twice, that if they try to question the sovereignty of Pakistan or try to come even close to our borders, there would be retaliation. And we've not just said it, we've shown what we're capable of doing. We've similarly given the same message to all of the countries of the world, not just the neighboring countries. And we stand by it. So we are brothers to Afghanistan for as long as Afghanistan is brothers to us. And we still are very hopeful that given our centuries-old relationship and given what Pakistan has done for Afghanistan over the past several decades, we are very hopeful that we'd be able to sit and we'll be able to sort things out. But we are not, if things don't get sorted out, then we've also made the consequences very clear.
Right. Thank you so much for your very valuable time. That's all the time that we have for this segment, after which we'll be taking a short break, which will come back and talk about where we are with regard to talks. Thank you so much for being with us. Please stay with us. Welcome back. We've been talking to Musadik Malik on, of course, what the future of these talks in Doha at this time that have been going on, what a likely outcome Pakistan can expect from these talks. We have with us Haroon Rashid, who's managing editor at Independent Urdu. Thank you so much for being with us. Haroon Sahab, how do you see these talks and the future of these talks, considering when we look back as far as Taliban are concerned, as far as our relationship with the Afghan Taliban is concerned and our policy is concerned? What do you expect from these talks?
Well, it's a good start that the two countries have agreed to talk. I think negotiations is the best way to resolve differences. And since both the countries have sent the right people for the right job, I think the defense minister and the intelligence chiefs who should be cognizant of what this actual situation on the ground is. So I think, I mean, it is a good sign. But the flip side is that during negotiations, during ceasefire, we have seen bloodshed across the border on both sides. And the clashes have continued despite 48 hours extension in the ceasefire. So I think it's both sides know that it is quite urgent and crucial that they somehow devise a mechanism where at least these skirmishes should stop immediately. And then I think the biggest challenge would be for the two sides to devise a long-term plan. I mean, short term is easy. I think they can achieve it quite quickly. But the thing is that they need to start the process of how to resolve the bone of contention, the TTP, how to deal with that, and whether the Afghan Taliban have any willingness to go after them and restrict them. That is one side of the story, but I think Pakistan needs to do a lot.
Haroon Sahab, there's also some debate in terms of their ability to do so. How do you look at that situation? Of course, their willingness one and ability two, and that debate has been going on for a while. How do you look at that?
I think it's not a good choice for any country to think that the Afghan Taliban would go against the TTP. I think that is a set rule that they have set for themselves. We have seen them making a similar mistake in early 2001 as well, when the Americans wanted Osama bin Laden to be handed over to them, and they refused, and they were stubborn at that time as well, and they did not oblige and lost their government in result. So you can see this Taliban 2.0 is no different as far as crucial issues are concerned. I mean, human rights and women rights, they are not budging any inch or centimeter over the last 4 years. So I mean, TTP could be another stumbling block where they are stuck and they don't want to move. So I think that is why I'm saying that a lot needs to be done on our side as well. We have a good Chinese model with us where they effectively dealt with East Turkestan Islamic movement within their own boundaries, and they made whatever remnants are in Afghanistan completely irrelevant. And they went after them in 2015. And ever since then, we haven't seen any big TIM attacks in China anymore. So I think that is the strategy that needs to be undertaken in Pakistan as well. We have taken a number of steps in that regard. We have fenced the border 90%. We have more security posts on the border. So I think the question is that then how the militants are still able to cross that border. So we need to do a lot of homework as well, I think.
We, like you said, of course, you know, in terms of what work Pakistan needs to do, when we talk about this kind of terrorism, do you think this action that we are taking now, not that, you know, it's not needed when we look at our own sovereignty, and that's, of course, the basic consideration for Pakistan, but do you think it alone can eliminate the menace of terrorism?
No, I think, I mean, it's a multi-pronged strategy. I mean, if we think that, I mean, just dealing with the militants and weeding them out is the only way forward, so we would be very wrong in that. I think it's a multi-pronged strategy where this ideology that the TTP and the TTA are bringing in, where are they getting all this recruitment? Where are they getting all this funding? That needs to be exposed and stopped. But at the
Already
same time,
now, but isn't it exposed in terms of the nexus that we see as far as India and Afghan Taliban are concerned? You know, again, we've been talking about this for a while. We've been giving the international community enough dossiers, we've been giving them enough proof, but the question is that now it's quite, you know, it's in the open when we look at this nexus, when we look at them having these press conferences, when we look at you know, this relationship, it becomes clear where the funding is coming from, no?
yeah, no, I mean, I don't have any doubts where the funding is coming from. But the thing is that the case that we are making maybe is not the right way that we should be making a case about it. If you look at the Chinese, I mean, China is a good example, and I keep on asking, referring to the Chinese model is that you don't see in public any acrimony between the Afghan Taliban and the Chinese, although they have a number of issues that they need to resolve as well. And their multi-pronged strategy is that they are not only engaging with the Afghan Taliban, but they are carrying out, I mean, initiated a lot of projects in Afghanistan as well. So financially, Afghan Taliban are now getting relied on the Chinese aid and support and their projects that they are bringing to Afghanistan, which in a way is, of course, I mean, for the benefit of China itself, not the Afghan Taliban or Afghanistan's love. They need all the minerals and whatever support I mean, manufacturing that they can do in Afghanistan. So that is one thing. Then you see that China is supporting Afghan Taliban on global forums as well. In the United Nations, we have seen China coming in and standing for, to some extent, for Afghan Taliban. So I think, I mean, war is one option, but I think there are other options as well where we can court the Afghan Taliban and make them realize that this is not good and this can't continue indefinitely, as the minister was saying as well, that we can't on daily basis lose so many lives. I mean, there needs to be a stop somewhere we need to put. So I think the strategy needs to be, and then at the same time, I would caution that we shouldn't be relying on Afghan Taliban for stopping the TTP. They would never, because ideologically they are one and the same. So, I mean, going against the TTP would be suicidal for Afghan Taliban, because it will weaken and fragment their own rank and file, because it would be like going against whatever they've been preaching all these years, that this is a war for their religion or whatever. So that is one thing. But the other thing is that we need to expose and I think highlight that their Islam is not what the real Islam is. If you bring them to the table, they are clueless about the kind of stance or stands or whatever they argue about, especially the women rights. I mean, they have no, I mean, ground to stand on to justify.
Haroon sir, there's also, of course, we talk about, like you said, that there has to be a multiple approach to how we deal with this problem. The issue is, we've seen the kind, from one province in particular, there is, a different voice coming. Is it about narrative building? Is it about national cohesion? And we haven't somehow been able. Do you think we've been able to achieve it conclusively? When we talk about one CM from a particular province not coming to this crucial meeting that was held, this high-level meeting on this very, very important issue of Pakistan's sovereignty. And we look at a narrative building. Why have we not been able to do that, in your opinion?
I think, it's quite unfortunate that the security and the how to deal with TTP policy is discussed in public as well. I think some political parties, if they think that they can make political mileage out of showing their own strategy is better than the others, they would be at a fault. I think even the provincial government and the federal government, everyone in Pakistan agrees. There are points where we all agree that this war needs to end. So how to go about getting to that destiny is I could have a different idea, you could have a different idea, but that needs to be sorted out in meetings, in all these apex committees that we have made, in all these council of common interest and things like that, and of course the parliament as well. Where they need to sit, sort it out, and then get out. On one strategy. If you keep on saying one thing and I'm talking about a different thing, it will send out a very wrong signal to all our enemies. And that is what is happening in KP and in the federal government as well.
In terms of what's happened between India and the Taliban, did you ever foresee this nexus between India and Afghan Taliban, who of course are the same Taliban who historically we know, what kind of an opinion India had about them? And when we look at, of course, like you said, treatment of women, we look at women journalists being excluded, all of that. Was this ever something that was foreseeable in your opinion?
I think so. I think if you think that India would let go of its involvement in Afghanistan and just say, okay, if Taliban are there, we are done and dusted and we are leaving it as they are. I think that would be been a fool man's presumption. I think India needs Afghanistan a lot for putting or keeping Pakistan on its toes. So whoever is in government in Afghanistan, we have seen over the decades that whoever was in power, India supported them. And India was one of the reasons why we see so much anti-Pakistan sentiment in Afghanistan. And there are reasons for that. We can go into the history as well. So even if Taliban were their previous enemies, they are now joining hands for their own national interest or whatever interests they have in this region.
Thank you for joining us today on this extremely important topic. As the talks are underway, of course, one hopes for a more peaceful outcome for Pakistan and Afghanistan also, and for us to have neighborly relations, which is what Pakistan has always said. But that said, Pakistan will not tolerate any attempt to infiltrate its territory or to cause harm to its sovereignty. Thank you for being with us today. Thank you for joining us, and have a good weekend.